So what we're going to talk about is what is Hbase. What exactly is Hbase? Hbase is a distributed, scalable big data store. It's basically nothing but, if you saw, it was a sorted map. The keys are sorted and then the values are there. It's open source. It's sparse. When you say sparse, that means they don't store nulls, and it's perfectly fine to have a null value, and it's not expensive because nulls are not stored at all. It's multidimensional, runs on top of HDFS, and it's modeled after Google's big table. Okay. So at Hbase, at its core, Hbase is nothing but a map, a key and value pair, where value can be massive, no need to have structure, all you need to know is the column families. It's sorted because keys are sorted. So we saw keys are sorted, and it's distributed. That's the biggest advantage of having Hbase, because it's completely distributed. Okay. Sparse. It's sparse because, I mean, you know, the beauty of this is a given row can have any number of columns. Not all columns must have values. Nulls are not stored, and it's absolutely perfect. Okay. And multidimensional because all the data you put, the data is basically stored in versions. By default, 3 versions are stored. By default, 3 versions are stored. Okay. Now let's look at the difference between HDFS and a traditional RDBMS, and this will make it very clear as to what's the difference here. Okay. So if you see the data layout in RDBMS, typically it's column or row oriented. In Hbase it is column family oriented. So we saw what is a column family. Transactions are supported in RDBMS. In Hbase, actually there are no transactions. The transaction can be done only on a single query level. Okay. So in single query, what you do, you can verify whether it failed or succeeded, but you can't have an entire transaction block whether everything goes good or bad. There should be. That's not possible. Query language, here you use SQL, and in Hbase you typically use get, put, scan. We'll be seeing all the functions. Security, you use authentication, authorization, typically all username, password stuff. Here you use Kerberos. Indexes, yes, indexes are there. Here you can build indexes only on the row key. The max data size that an RDBMS can handle is terabytes, and what Hbase can handle is petabyte plus. So when you have data in terabytes and you're looking at 1000 queries per second, RDBMS is a better choice. But when you have data petabyte scale, RDBMS won't even cater to that requirement. And the read-write throughput is millions of queries per second. So that is how Hbase is different than typical RDBMS. So let's talk about what exactly is the relationship between HDFS and Hbase. Okay. So Hadoop provides fault tolerance. It provides scalability. We saw that. And it provides batch processing with MapReduce. So we all have done a course on Hadoop, so we know that. Now, what does Hbase provide? Hbase provides you random reads and writes, high throughput, and caching for the retrieval. Okay. So these are two different systems, but they both work on the same file system. Okay. Now, Hadoop consists of 2 core components, HDFS and MapReduce. Okay, and then you have a lot of ecosystem projects on it. A set of machines running HDFS and MapReduce is known as Hadoop cluster. Okay, and individual machines are known as, what do you call, nodes. Now let's talk about the usage scenario of Hbase. Basically, it's the same presentation, but it was for a different course basically. Yeah, I ended up. So it's the same presentation, just that I ended up showing you the slightly different course that PPT. So let me just do this. Let me just quickly start from the beginning so that you don't lose the point. So we've known that Hbase is a distributed, scalable big data store. It's a sorted map, open source, sparse, multi-dimensional, runs on top of HDFS and model after Google's big table. We've seen this. It's a map, sorted, distributed, sparse, and multi-dimensional. And Hbase is not a traditional database. This is why it is not a traditional database. Okay. Now let's get to the usage scenarios of Hbase. So where exactly is Hbase used? Okay. When should you be using Hbase? When you have lots of data. So if you have, let's say, what you call few gigs of data, don't consider Hbase. It is an overhead. Please don't consider it. High write throughput. So thousands of queries per second is what it is capable of. Why? Because it's a file system. It's not having referential integrity foreign keys. So scalable cache capacity. For retrieval, there is a good cache, and you can basically have a good caching implementation in there. And data layout. Now Excel set key lookup, no penalty for sparse columns. If your data is structured around keys, if it's around row keys, then Hbase is a real winner. Now let's look at how do I really access Hbase from my RDB, or basically my MapReduce. Now if you see, yesterday we already discussed that Hadoop cluster and Hbase cluster have to be different. So how would you basically access Hbase cluster from your MapReduce? Now rows from an Hbase table can be used as input to MapReduce job. Each row is treated as a single record, and MapReduce jobs can search, sort, index, query the data in bulk. Okay. Few use cases of Hbase. So Hbase is used in really massive, internet scale applications. One of them is WordLingo. Now WordLingo has 44 servers. Okay, it has 44 servers, and it has two separate Hadoop and Hbase clusters, as we saw yesterday, with 22 nodes each. Hadoop is primarily used to run Hbase and MapReduce jobs, scanning over Hbase tables. Okay, so you have all your data in Hbase, and you are basically processing them. It stores 12 million documents with a target of 450 million in near future. eBay Cassini is another project, which is a search engine basically. And then Hbase is in production in Facebook, StumbleUpon, Trend Micro, Ning, and many more. So a lot of companies are using Hbase. So when should I use Hbase and when should I not use Hbase? If you need random write, read, or both, okay, Hbase is great. You need to do thousands of operations per second on a multiple terabyte of data. Your access patterns are well known and simple. Preferably, if everything is getting played around your key, then it's a fantastic database. Don't use Hbase if you only append your data set and tend to read the entire thing. Okay, so if you just you're appending the data and you don't have too many random queries or too many queries, and you tend to read the entire data, then in fact Hbase is not the choice to be. Your primary goal is to do ad hoc analysis. Now if you're just a BI guy who just writes any query without any pattern and can just ask any question to the database without a specific pattern, again Hbase is not a great idea for you. Hbase works fantastic when most of your queries are based on the keys. Okay, so if you're just randomly anything that comes to your mind and you don't want to go by a key but go by, let's say, some other value inside the column, Hbase is not the best place to be. Okay, and your data easily fits in one beefy node. If one server is enough for you, don't even think of Hbase. It's not a wise investment. Go for Hbase only when you really have that amount of data. All right. So that is Hbase.